4.5, Graphing from Standard Form Notes. First, let's recall that we know the slope-intercept form of a linear function is our favorites, y equals mx plus b. We also have what's called standard form, and that's one we don't really use as much. We used it for when we were graphing from intercepts. That's when x and y are on the same side, so we call it ax plus by is equal to c. Now remember, both of these equations are on your formula card, so you don't have to memorize them. The y equals mx plus b we'll use a lot. You'll probably memorize it or already have it memorized. Okay, when we're graphing, it's so much easier for us to have y equals mx plus b. So if we're given standard form, this is how we convert it. All right, first we move the x term to the right side of the equation. Okay, so in example 1, I want y by itself, right? So I'm going to get rid of this 2x. Well, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides because I can cross it out over here. But if I do it on the left, I have to also do it on the right. So now I'm left with 3y equals 6 minus 2x. Remember, you cannot combine these. They are not like terms. All right, now take a quick look. And the next part of this says move the x term to the right side of the equation, and I'm going to write in here change the sign. Change the sign of x. Right? Here on the left side, it started as a positive 2x. On the right side, it's now a negative 2x. And that always happens because to get rid of it, we always do the opposite. So we'll always have a changed sign when we move terms like that. Finally, our last step is to divide both sides of the equation by the y coefficient. So this number 3 that's in front of the y, we're going to divide both sides by 3 so I can cross it off. Now everything gets divided by 3 so we can keep our equation balanced. So we've got y equals 6 divided by 3 is going to give me 2, right? And then negative 2x over 3 I'm going to write as a negative 2/3 x. Okay, so the slope-intercept form of the equation is y equals, now this is technically correct. Personally, I like the x term to be in the front, so I'm going to take this negative 2/3 x and I'm going to put it in the front. Negative 2/3 x, and then this is just a positive 2 right there, so I'm going to write plus 2. All right, so my slope is negative 2/3, my y-intercept is 2. All right, now let's go ahead and let's graph this thing. We know that the first point that we start with to graph is always the y-intercept. That's the easiest point. It's on the y-axis, so that point goes right here. Right? That should always be your first point. Now we have to use our slope, and my slope is negative 2/3. So let's remember that slope is rise over run, and so in this case it's a negative 2/3. So rise, we're going to go down 2 because of the negative, and right 3. Notice that this does create that negative slope that I want, right? You can do it again if you want. Down 2, right 3 to get your next point. Down 2, right 3. That's how we're getting points. Okay? Draw your line. Hopefully you have some kind of straight edge to use. And there we've done it. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and let's do another one. Same exact stuff. We are solving for y so we can graph. Here we go. Now we start with x minus 3y equals 9. So let's remember our steps. First, we move x to the right side. So I'm going to minus x from the left side because x minus x is 0. Do it from the right side to be fair. So now I've got negative 3y equals 9 minus x. All right, so we moved x to the other side. Now it has a different sign. Now we're going to divide by the y coefficient. So in this case, negative 3. Everything gets divided by negative 3. So now I'm left with 9 divided by negative 3, which is negative 3. Okay, and then, let's go ahead and let's clean this equation up. What is negative x over negative 3? Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And then to help my brain a little bit, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to write that 1 with the x. I know it's there, but it helps me to see it. So now I can tell, okay, this number is 1/3, and it's a positive now. So positive 1/3. Instead of writing x on the top like it is right there, I'm just going to write it over to the side. I feel like it is a little bit more clear. Okay, So now what is my slope-intercept equation? Well, technically this is a slope-intercept equation, but I am going to go ahead, I'm going to rewrite it with the x term first. So this positive 1/3 x goes in the front, and then this negative 3 comes after it. Right, guys, these equations are the same. I can't stress that enough. This equation is the same equation as this one. All right, they're just in different orders. So my slope for this equation is 1/3. My y-intercept is -3. So the very first thing on the graph I'm going to do is I'm going to plot my y-intercept, right? Again, it's on the y-axis. So -3 goes right here. Okay, and now I got to get more points. Well, my slope is 1/3. So my rise over run is 1/3. So we are going to rise 1, run 3, right? I went up this time because it was a positive 1/3, and that's going to create a positive slope when I do that. Up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. You only need 2 points to graph a line, but you can always get more if you have space. And that's my line. I'm going to erase these little step-looking things. There we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's move to the back side of this worksheet. We've got 2 more examples to look at. Problem number 3. Here we go. Again, y'all, I want y equals mx plus b. It's just so much better, right? It works so much better. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my x term to the right side of the equation. Sorry, I'm getting my charger here. Okay. I'm going to move my x term to the right side of the equation, and I'm going to do that by adding 3x, so plus 3x. The previous 2 examples we subtracted, but now it's starting out as a negative, so to get rid of it, I have to add 3x to both sides. Okay. So now, I've still got -5y on the left side, and this is going to be equal to 15 plus 3x. Okay. Last but not least, just like the other problems, we're going to divide by the number with y, in this case a -5. So I've got y equals 15 divided by -5. Okay, well that's going to be a -3. And then I've got 3x divided by -5. So I've got a positive divided by a negative. Well, that's going to turn out to be negative. And I'm going to leave it as 3/5, not as a decimal, because remember, graphing, we actually like fractions. And here is my equation. Let me write that a little more clearly. That's a 5. Okay? All right. So what is my slope-intercept equation? Well, again, I already just boxed it up. It's this equation we just talked about, but I'm going to rewrite it so x is in the front. So that's a -3/5x. Okay? And then I have this -3 after it. Goes right here. Same exact equation, just a different order. So what is my slope? Well, my slope is -3/5, and my y-intercept is -3. So the first point on my graph, just like the other problems, is on the y-axis, and it is at -3. And now I'm going to use my slope to get more points. So my slope is rise over run, which is -3/5. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 3 because it's negative, but still right 5. Remember, if you ever get confused, what if you did try to go left? What if you went down and left 5? Well, that's going to be a positive slope. No, I needed a negative slope, so you could check yourself that way. All right, so we're going to go down and right 5. I don't have space to go do that again. Do I? I do. So down 3 and right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, there we go. Draw your line. All right. Let's go ahead and let's do one more example. This one has something that's maybe a little bit different, but most of y'all can probably handle it. I'm sure all of you can handle it by the time we're done learning all this stuff. All right, I'm getting y by itself again, right? I want to graph. I like y equals. It's really simple to graph from slope-intercept form. Here we go. I'm going to add 4x to both sides, right? Cross it out here. Add it on the right. So now I've got 4y equals -8 plus 4x. Okay. Finally, let's divide by 4. So now I have y equals -8 divided by 4 is -2. 4 divided by 4 is just a positive 1x. You don't have to write the 1, but you can if you like. So my slope-intercept equation is going to be y equals 1x, or if you want to just write x, you can, with a negative 2. Again, guys, both boxed equations, right, those two are the same. Here we go. So my slope in this case is 1, right, the number with x. My y-intercept is negative 2. So the first point to go on the graph is going to be this negative 2. All right, here we go. Negative 2 is my first point. Now my slope in this case is 1. And for some reason, this idea can confuse kids sometimes. I really strongly recommend that you kind of go back and write out the rise over run words. They're equal to 1. So how can I get a number on the bottom without changing the value here? Well, let's just put a 1 there. Isn't 1 divided by 1 still just 1? But now I can see that I'm going to rise 1, run another 1. Rise 1, run 1. Right? Up 1, over 1. And these are creating a positive slope because my slope is positive. And there's my line. Okay? There's my line. A slope of positive 1 with the y-intercept at a negative 2. Okay. Remember, guys, the phrase we're going to talk about today, when we get y by itself, we say move, switch, divide, move the x, switch its sign, divide by y, then you've got y equals mx plus b, and you can graph.